It is exactly 8:42 a.m. Welcome back. This is News and Views on Salam Media. We are crossing over to an undisclosed destination somewhere overseas where our next guest is residing. She is Zeinab Ltaif, a mother of 6 children. She was actively participating in protests against Sweden's social services before she fled the country with her children. 1 year on, the family, which has stayed in 4 countries since, is looking for a place to call home. And we're talking about Sweden, supposed to be the best democratic country in the world, the best social welfare country in the world. It is ranked as the #1 country to be living in the world. And Zeinab Ltaif is going to be sharing a totally different story with us this morning. Zeinab, Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the program.
Wa alaikum assalam. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, you have what sounds to me like a bit of a horror story. In my introduction, I spoke about having 6 children. You, your husband, and your children have fled the country because you are an activist mother. The Swedish authorities now have slammed you with a whole host of uh, uh, accusations that you are not a fit mother. They've given different reasons, taking your children with you on attending demonstrations. They call you. Uh, Obviously, they've termed you or have labeled you as a terrorist. Yet you do not wear hijab.
Yeah.
You are Muslim, but there are certain things that you want to highlight by way of this program. What are the atrocities that the Swedish authorities are guilty of? And do you believe that they are targeting Muslim families, or is this a general blanket ruling for all people living in Sweden?
Yes, thank you. Uh, it's a very big question that you ask. I will try to answer as good as I can in this short time. About the question about if they are targeting the Muslim families, it's it's like half and half. Like it's yes, in kind of another way, because they have we said their thoughts about what Muslims is, and there is Islamophobia. And when it comes to a complaint, and there are sitting workers from the social services, it's kind of like, okay, you are Muslim. We have They have their thoughts about what you are, so they don't give you this honor chance to prove that you are a good mother and father, because they will always thinking, even if you try. I have been with a lot of families, when you try in court to show that no, it's not like you are telling that uh, I'm a Muslim and extremist, and I'm not practicing forcing my children to the things that you are blaming me, like pray or fasting in Ramadan, or a lot of those things. You have no chance. You cannot win. You have lost. You cannot get back your children. It's so hard. A lot of families are suffering. Some families have been success to get her children back, but it depends on the social workers, the people who are working, and when they have their um, thoughts and what they think, then you have a big problem. And especially when we know today there is Islamophobia, and they are talking open about that they sometimes they can like I have a picture of us that we are very bad parents for our children, and they don't want the children to grow up in that way.
Okay, let me ask you this question. You have been labeled as an extremist and as an Islamist by the Swedish authorities. Your sister's children have been taken away, and it seems like Muslim families are being targeted from what you're telling me and from the article that I've read. On what grounds are the social workers taking the children away from the families and placing them in foster care?
Yes, it started when my sister's children they were taken, and in the beginning I thought like, okay, it's a fault. It will solve. We can solve this. So wrong can happen. But after I started to read the law and actually was meeting the social services, so I started to see that okay, there is no law who's following. They are not following the law. This was the big issue that we had, that they have this answer that we do what we think is the best. It's up to the social worker what they can see, what they do. Um, and
Why did they take your sister's children away? On what grounds? Did they perhaps see your sister screaming at the children? Did someone report her anonymously? Were the children maybe neglected in a sense? What was their reasoning?
the reason was she has 5 daughters, and one of her daughters was 5 years at that moment. And she has woke up in the like five in the morning, and she was red and screaming. So they put the medication on, and when she was screaming, they had, because she was with her legs, so they had to grab her. So because her other sister wake up too when she heard her sister was screaming. So to give her this medication, so they grab her, and that was it. Then she left them in the morning to the preschool, and the teacher was like, "Okay, you're sad. Why are you sad?" and talking, and then the 5 years old said, "Oh, my mother hit my sister," and then we were there. It was. The children was taken. The sisters today lives a few hours from each other. They don't see each other. They have been 1.5 years. And my sister has seen just 3 of her daughters 2 times now, for like 6 weeks ago. And the youngest one, Mariam, who was 3 years at that time, they have never seen her again. And she had her oldest daughter. She was 14 at that time. She flew from the social services, was hiding for 2 months, wanted as a criminal. Now I'm telling what she always saying, this girl, because she's very strong, and she flew to Turkey too and did her court there, and she was the first. It's very hard to win these courts, but she won actually her court. But she was not happy because her sister was not coming back, and now she has been fighting too and demonstrating for 1.5 years that she wants her sisters, and
So,
she wants to meet them.
what what recourse is open to your sister to try and get her family back? Is she still in Sweden? And do you believe this is a deliberate target at Muslim families in Sweden? Or is this the general modus operandi of the Swedish government in their eyes to supposedly protect young, innocent children from abusive parents? And I'm not suggesting for 1 minute that your sister was abusive, but it seems as if the Swedish authorities come down extremely hard on parents. So, do you think this is targeted deliberately on Muslim families, or is this generally how they behave with all of their citizens?
This is for all the citizens, the law. This child protection is for the all. I represented families who was Christian, Jew, Swedish, everything. But the easiest target Muslims families. They are, I call them the easiest because you have a lot of reason to take their children. It's very easy. So this child protection, I cannot see it like it's a child protection in all the cases. Most of it today, it's child damage. It's no protection. You cannot protect the children in this way. You're traumatizing these children. They live in trauma. Not all the children, the most of the children today, when you read the reports from Sweden, they don't feel good. They are trying to kill themselves. They learn to take drugs. They cut themselves. When you take them from their families and their protection, we read every day in the newspaper they are getting sexual abuse, rapes, violence. So when you will take these children for protection from maybe what you call it, that okay, you are forcing your children about things, maybe that you will force them about the religion, or you are using violence, what they call, it's better to get them help. Get these families help and help the children at home with their parents, but you are taking them outside their home and their safety. And we are reading today and see how these children in these institutions and at the family, foster family, they're getting sexual abuse, raped, violence. They are seeing much more. Okay, your protection a kind of challenge. Well, I always read reports too that we have really children who needs this protection, who is really living with parents who are really taking drugs or alcoholic. But sometimes these children are not getting this protection, and they are killed home by their biological parents. But you are punishing all other families who really don't have this problem with taking we will say the way they use it. You're taking the wrong children and you're leaving the children who really needs protection. Do you understand what I mean?
I understand clearly. When these children are taken from their biological families and placed in foster care, do the authorities ensure that they're placed with Muslim foster care so that they can still uphold their religious beliefs and live and practice as Muslim children?
No,
No?
absolutely no, no. They are not. In all cases, my sister, they was the first who said that the girls is Muslim. They don't please respect. They don't eat pork because they are 3 years. At that time, they were three, 5, 6, 7, and they noticed. And then we were reading in reports that okay, they are eating pork. And when we asked them, they said they can choose. We cannot tell them that you cannot eat pork. And
Mm.
it was like okay, but they are not old yet to decide. They are too small, and we are teaching them. We will have a lot of times, not in this case, with a lot of families, write and try legally use the children's rights, that it's standing on the convention that every child has right to keep his ethnicity, language and traditions and religion. And we are like asking, please, can you move these children to a family from the same religion, same language? And no, no. And the children, they can, a lot of these children cannot even their languages anymore. They only speak Swedish. You have parents who have been just in Sweden maybe for 2 months, 5 months, 7 months. When they, if if they get a chance to talk with their children once a year, they need someone to are sitting in translation the conversation, because the children cannot their language and the parents have not learned the Swedish language, so
Okay,
they can.
you are an activist and you're fighting against this injustice as far as children being separated from their parents and not being put into the right environment as far as foster care is concerned. Do you know at this point in time, and I know that you're no longer in Sweden, because if you go back to Sweden, you will be incarcerated. Your children will be separated from you because they have already labeled you as an Islamist and as an extremist. You are fighting from abroad. Do you know at this point in time how many Muslim children have been separated from their families? And what are the chances of them being reunited with their families again? Uh, are you aware at all of those numbers?
No, not. We are not aware of these numbers, and we have right to the parliament, to the politicians, to the social services, and we want this number. But the thing they are saying no, it's security. We cannot give. We don't. We cannot give names. And but I said one thing. I tried to the court, so I sent it that I wanted a list of all the LVU cases that they handled for the last 5 years, and because there was a person who was tipsing me to do that, and she was Swedish, and she had done that a few years earlier. And when she showed me her list, it was with the names. So I thought, yes, so I can take all this from the courts and from the names do statistic, like okay, that we can see how many. But the court said in the media and that the social services are kidnapping Muslim children. So when they give me the list, they cover up all the names. We didn't get any
Okay,
names.
Zainab, how do you move forward with this situation? Because obviously they're going to silence your voice and other voices like yours in Sweden, because this sounds like quite a scandal. What do you want, and how can we as an international community assist you with this issue? And are you also thinking this to possibly take this to Amnesty International, the United Nations, human rights? All of those organizations need to be brought on board to address this very, very serious situation in Sweden.
Absolutely. The first thing I want to really say this that we are sitting here with this interview today. The first thing is it's not for me, because I really want to put this light on this issue that we are having in Sweden. Because in Sweden we always say we are Sweden, we are the top best country in human rights, but sorry to say that, no, not anymore. We are not that. With this, we are breaking the human rights and the child on the convention every day. Every day we are breaking it in Sweden, and I think this is the biggest problem, because we need really all the organizations and the countries to really stand up now and get all these cases and these families, and we want an extra review about these families. You can, like, from a psychologist, doctor, specialist, that maybe you can put 10 people and meet these parents and do a real investigation, not an investigation based on two social workers, based on 45 minutes. 45 minutes, they meet you two times, and then they have done their investigation and say, no, you are not a good mother, no, you are not a good father, you can't have your children. So we really need this, we need to put the light on, we need to really start and talk to Sweden. No, you are breaking the human rights. You are not the best country, top one, as you have been. No, it's not right. And there is not just me, it's a lot of Swedish people, lawyers, doctors, who's writing about this and trying to put the light on this, that we need help. We need help from you, from all of you outside, to solve this problem. Or they are just sitting quiet and say this is a discrimination. Okay, but then let us.
Absolutely. Absolutely
Sorry.
unbelievable, absolutely atrocious. Obviously, I'm going to have to end the interview. We have run out of time, but I will talk with you again sometime soon to get an update. I do hope that you're carrying on your activism from wherever you are now in another part of the world. But it also means that you are not allowed to go back to Sweden, because if you do, they're going to put you in jail. Am I right?
Yes, that's right, because I have helped a lot of families. This help, I have helped them to translate their investigation and what they can do juridically. We have Swedish families, real Swedish, not even us, who is seeking asylum for human rights in Poland, in Spain, in Italy. We have really to put the light on when they own the Swedish families take their children from the social services, from the foster cares, and run with them and flee the country and are seeking asylum for human rights, and they are getting it because they want the human rights, the right of the family. Then we really have a big problem. And the Muslim families, they are doing the same, and you are kidnapping your children. You have to come and sit in prison. It's enough. It's enough. Really, it's enough.
Zainab,
I not can go back. I not can go back with my children because I know they will take my children.
Zeinab Ltaif, we will not forget you and your story. We will continue highlighting it here on Salam Media. And inshallah, we will be talking with you again soon. Allah watch over you. Allah give you the courage and the strength to continue this very, very, very important fight. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for being with us on the show. Khuda Hafiz to you.
Thank you so much. Inshallah. Amin. I hope that. Thank you. Thank you
Thumma
so much.
Ameen, Thumma Ameen. It is exactly 5 after 9 o'clock. News and views on Salam Media. That was a story that I could have ran with for the entire 2 hours, straight to the heart. It is absolutely heart-wrenching, heartbreaking, and absolutely inhumane. So undoubtedly, we will be hooking up with her in the coming months to hear if the situation has changed, if she has in fact gotten in touch with different human rights organizations, Amnesty International, and all the important role players to stop this atrocity playing out in Sweden. Lots more coming up your way this morning right here on Salam Media. We have overrun time, but just stay with us, please. We will continue with all of the scheduled interviews and including the news bulletin. So please stay with us.